Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Spooked Coast to Coast. We are live today with Joy and Joey, JJ Paranormal,
Yay! They both here.
with another cool background. What is that one?
Yes,
that one's
did you change the background?
a mental
Yeah,
asylum.
it's better.
That one's cool.
It's better,
Yeah,
right?
That one's
Yeah,
cool.
so you can see everything on top.
This is where
I like it.
Awesome.
we would like
yes,
to live.
that's-
Where we would like to
Yeah,
live.
yeah. So then it's
Where you
silent.
like to- nice.
Yeah.
I don't think
That's-
that's
and this is Jen and Mondo. We are 305 Paranormal, and we have switched it up too, guys. I don't know if you've noticed, but we are no longer purple. We are blue.
Oh, I was wondering what the
Oh yeah, I just noticed
Switching
that.
my hair. That's about it.
Yeah, she has nice hair, guys.
I have nice hair today.
Yankee,
Give her
Yankee
a
blue.
thumbs up in the
Yankee
chat
blue.
for the hair.
Bonita,
I
Jen.
had a little help blow drying, so
You did not do this, honey.
no, the rest of the part I don't take credit
Do
for.
not. Do not even.
She
But
called you out.
we have a special guest today, just like every other
Amen.
week. But this one is someone that we've had the honor of meeting with. I feel like every interaction that we've had with him, I kind of learned a little something. Where I had mentioned before, I don't consider myself an expert in the paranormal field at all. I feel like I still have so much to learn. And I know that's something in commonality that I have with a lot of folks. But this guest that we're having today, I feel like if he doesn't consider himself an expert, I feel like he's real close, if anything. But he's an amazing person.
Ooh, hello, Bill team. Brittany.
I'm
What's up?
looking so forward to meeting, well, for you guys to meet, though. We've already had the pleasure of meeting Bill and some of his teammates from P.E.R.S. Thank you guys for the para unity. He's one of the very first examples that we've had of para unity, different teams collaborating together, and just being, just genuine, nice people.
Wait, can you not hear me?
Can you hear us?
You should be able to hear us. Someone said no sound. Turn up your volume.
Hello.
Y'all can hear me. Give a thumbs up.
Can you hear me now? What about now? But like with the commercial, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Remember that commercial? Is it Verizon, T-Mobile?
I don't know, but
Right? Volume good, guys?
in Canton, they're gonna flag you like.
I can hear. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's
It might be them. Okay. So,
we can hear you now.
all right. Let's go ahead and bring in Bill.
Hot in here.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, you didn't let me introduce.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, let me do
I
it.
was excited.
Thank you. Aw. And all right, so we have. You said his name, Bill Slevin.
Go ahead.
All right.
Bill Slevin.
So our guest, Bill Slevin. I don't know where we left off. That whole volume comment
Volume kind of threw us off.
threw me for a loop.
Right over. You have more
World-famous investigator, Ph.D. in Parapsychology, Metaphysical, Humanistic science, and also a demonologist. He is the founder and lead investigator for the Paranormal Existence Research Society, which they have it nicknamed as P.E.R.S, and it's based out of Coral Springs, but he does have groups in other places in the United States and in Europe. And he is also works with the Warren Legacy Foundation Paranormal Research that's founded by Lorraine Warren and Chris McKinnell, which is the grandson of Ed Lorraine Warren. So we're gonna bring in Bill. Bill's all over the place. Bill is super busy.
Good.
Good, and you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, yes. Thank you for
Thank you
being
for coming
here.
on.
And
Yes.
speaking of awesome backgrounds,
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you.
he's
is
got us
real.
all beat.
I know, I was looking at that. I was like,
Green
wow, that
screen.
is nice.
I'm at a room in here.
Wow.
I can't really put much more, but if you could see the whole room, it's like that all the way around.
Oh, is that a room? That's not a green screen?
No, that's
No,
my
no,
that's
no,
my
that's-
office.
Oh,
not,
wow.
that's not fake.
Oh, that is not. That's amazing. I like that.
Jessica's on
Thank
my
everybody
team,
for
too.
being here. V is his lovely wife, and we're
Yes,
gonna have
ma'am.
her on the show too. I would love to speak to her. She is a Reiki master,
Yes.
and what else does she do?
She does energy healing. She's a feng shui master. Everything. She works with all kind of energy. She's on the team. She doesn't
Yeah.
investigate with us, but she works with the energy of the clients.
Yeah.
So she helps. Yeah, she helps clear the energy with the clients.
That's awesome.
Which is super important, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She doesn't like the
Very, very-
investigating part. That's not her thing.
she's like, call me in after when everybody needs like
She got to deal enough with me coming home from them.
There you go.
Well, I will have questions about that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, me
overall,
too,
nice
yeah.
person. We got a chance to meet her
Oh, absolutely.
in the beginning of this year. Very nice.
Yeah.
She got to deal
So-
with me. She, you know.
No, you're not too bad. You're crazy. Well, I was gonna say, to start off, can you tell us how did you start in the paranormal? Was it from childhood experience or was it something later on in life?
Yeah, I always say it was a little different, like for some people, like a lot of people now. See, a lot of people now, they watch the TV shows when they're young, and this is how they got into it, and that's fine. But it was very different when I was young. I had my own experiences, but you didn't know what they were back then because people didn't talk about it.
Yes.
I'm an empath. I didn't know what an empath was back then. I didn't know what I was feeling. I thought I was crazy. I'd go to even like a family party and I'd feel emotions and energy from the people there, the living people even, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know why. All of a sudden I felt depressed. I was picking up on somebody else's energy. So when I was young, it was kind of tough, you go out to the library, grab some books, anything you could find back then. But it was a little different, but I was guided by my experiences and it just made me, I was never scared of it. I was a big horror fan, even when I was a little kid, and not much scared me back then. And I little by little, I kind of progressed trying to find out on my own until I actually got somebody to allow me on an investigation in the late 80s. And that was when I first started investigating. That's why I say I have 35 years actively investigating in the field. So I've been researching before it and everything, but it's been about 35 years since my original investigation, which was interesting.
Yeah,
Nice.
awesome.
Was it like something that you saw? I mean, did you ever see anything as a child? Also, what I meant to ask, or
I
or just
felt a
something-
lot. I felt a lot, and I one of the things I may have talked about it somewhere before, but I grew up in New Jersey, and when I lived in Fort Lee, New Jersey, when I was young, I would say I was probably around 10 or 11, and everybody in the neighborhoods always had your haunted house in the neighborhood that everybody was scared of. You'd run
Yes.
past it at night, and on our block there was a big old house that was just a creepy looking house. And the crazy thing was everybody would run past that house. Everybody was scared of that house when we were young. And I was intrigued. I wanted to try to get in, and people lived there, but you never saw them.
Yes.
And they had this really interesting thing on their lawn. Like you'd have this whole lawn on the side of their house, and then there was this big giant mound that had like, grass and flowers and everything. It looked like almost like you would look at it and say like, wow, it looks like the shape of a coffin. It was very odd. It was just in the middle of the yard. And every once in a while we'd see the old guy who lived there. He was out there and he would level it and plant grass seed and just, it would be gone. And then literally a week later, it was back. A huge mound with all the flowers. And, as a young kid, I didn't understand. I was like, I thought I saw them to get rid of that thing, And one time I walked by and I was with a bunch of my friends and he was outside digging it up again. And I said, I'm going over there. I went right onto his property and I walked up to him and I said, how you doing? And he was a real nice guy. It's kind of like if you've ever seen, what was it? Oh God, now I can't think of the name of the movie. I'll get back to that. So I walked up to him and I said, hey, I'm just curious. I said, why do you guys keep taking this thing down and then putting it back? And he looked at me, he goes, you wouldn't understand. And I said, yeah, you're right. I don't understand why you would do all that work. Because
that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here all day.
He's looking at me like, I don't think he wanted to say it. He goes, we don't put it back. It just shows up. And I'm like, I don't know if I was 10 or 11. I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? I'm
That's
like,
so
what do you
crazy.
mean?
I was like, yeah.
But I was intrigued. I said to him, I go, what do you mean? He goes, I'm telling you. He goes, we level this thing. We plant seed. It grows grass. He goes, and literally overnight, the thing is back with full grown flowers. And, I didn't know what to think. I was thinking he was crazy, I wound up doing some research not too long after that, even at a young age, going to the library, looked some stuff up, and I found out that there was it was Indian burial ground on those roads there, and I couldn't pinpoint it because I don't even know. I was young to figure out some of that stuff, but it seemed like it's possible it was like a chief or an important person from the tribe in that area. I got to go back and research it again, but it was one of the things that, like, those type of things would just propel me into, like, down a rabbit hole trying to figure out, what was going on. We didn't have internet and we didn't have all that back then. This is, a long time ago. So it was hard to research like you can now.
Yeah, you can't say that to like a young kid and be like, I don't know, I just doesn't, and be like, walk away from that, because I'm gonna be like, no, tell me, tell me more.
I was thinking of Home Alone, how they were scared of the guy next door. He was like this creepy old guy. That's kind of how that's kind of how this was. He was like this old creepy guy that lived in this creepy house, and everybody ran from him, but he was a nice guy.
Oh man, wow. Well, that's cool. I felt like, I don't remember feeling stuff as a kid. Maybe, I don't know. I was more visual. Like, I saw stuff that I thought was maybe real stuff, and it's not. Maybe in hindsight, not real stuff. I don't know, or mentally, I don't know, whatever. Right. But something like that. But what I want to also say, that you're right. Like, when I was young, so growing up like that, I couldn't really say this to like a lot of people, because then they'd be like, "Oh, you're crazy," or how do you bring that up? Or then if you do, some kids are like, well, or even adults now, like, as a 43-year-old, people are like, hey, I heard you like into the paranormal. Can I tell you what happened? So I have those at my job like all the time, and I was like, yeah. So I'm not crazy, right? So I think that's cool. It's more open now.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I will say TV shows and everything did, is that kind of brought it into the forefront to where people can talk about it. I was raised Catholic, I'm Catholic. Yes. And back then you can't, you couldn't sit there and tell your parents, oh, I think I saw a ghost, or I think, I'm feeling something, and they would think you're crazy.
Yeah.
There's no way, just like you try to get residentials back then, it wasn't easy because everybody was scared to tell anybody. They're afraid they were going to get locked up,
He said, James said Latinos are crazy. I agree. I guess he met a couple of Latinos. It's the Florida Latinos are crazy. That's what happened. Oh man. Go ahead with your.
So, Bill, I'm gonna do my icebreaker question that I do with every guest. So, Bill, there's a lot of things that we have in common. So, obviously, we live in the state of Florida, great state. Yep.
Locas Latinas.
California better.
We're paranormal investigators, even though I one day dream to get to the level of expertise that you are.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
we both have Funko Pops made after us. I don't know.
I gave him a Funko Pop. Yes, he saw your Funko Pop, and he was like, he has a Funko Pop made of him.
I was like,
mine.
yes.
I'll tell you what I love about mine. What I love about mine is it was done by a guy who does customs for like celebrities and things like that, and it's so great because what he does is a little different than Funko, where he is total personalization on everything, and it's amazing. I might be able to roll back and grab it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I want everybody to see it. It's so cool.
I love his setup. That is so cool.
They made one to look like you?
Oh
yeah. Look at this one.
Bro, that one's bad.
Oh my god, that is so cute.
I like that it has the little.
He has a K2 and a rosary in his hand, and then
it has your logo on the top. Wow!
Oh, dang,
it's a real. Nice. It's done really. I mean, it says Funko. It's not really Funko, but even on my, if you look at it, he's wearing my shirt, and on the back of the shirt is my logo. The guy painted the logo on.
Oh wow!
Nice.
He's really, really good. I think so many people started doing those customs that Funko decided they want to cash in on that and made it to where people can do them, you know.
Yeah.
But
I don't
they
blame
can't
him.
do things like my beard and things like that. You
I
know, it's
know.
little things that just make it
Yeah.
personal. But they look great. I love them.
Yeah.
When I saw yours and it had the beard, I was like, man, I didn't see that. Like, because they kind of like changed out the options. I was like, maybe that was an option. That's pretty freaking cool. But
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's would be easy. Mine's would be easy, just a circle with some.
circle on the beard. You're done.
You're done.
2 dots with their nose. There you go.
That's hilarious.
Another thing that we have in common, Bill, is we also know Scotty Burns.
Yes.
In past episodes, I dubbed her Mama Bear because that's the type of relationship that she had with us.
Yeah.
She's the person that inspired me and kept encouraging me and ensuring me that I was doing the right thing.
Right.
And losing her, it was a huge blow to me. But
Yeah.
I continue to do the things that she's taught me, and that's what keeps me going. I just want to ask you, what is your experiences with Scotty? Because if it wasn't for Scotty, we technically would have never met you.
Yeah.
Right.
She's told us to go meet you when we traveled up to MegaCon. And I'm going to go back to that in a little bit, but I just want to hear your experiences about Scotty.
Scotty was one of a kind. I mean, if you knew her, there's no way you could say, "Oh, I met somebody like her." She's one of a kind, you know. I met her. God, I don't even. I was trying to figure that out when we were at her little thing there at the yesteryear. It has to be like 15 years or so. I want to say I met her originally at a Paracon that we used to have called the PIA, the PIA convention, and it's different. It's not like a MegaCon or a horror convention or whatever. It was only people that were in the actual paranormal field. You had to be part of a team to actually go. And it was some great people that I've met that helped me down here kind of connect with a lot of people. There was great people. That's where I met Timmy a long time ago. Timmy Yancey. She was just so welcoming to me and everybody at War Party. After I met her and then I started meeting everybody from War Party down here, it was surprising because it was one of the few teams I've ever met that I can work with, not being on the team. Just like you were saying, the Para Unity, I got tired of dealing with teams. That's why I created my own after a while. I was on so many teams between New Jersey and Florida, and it was so different with everybody from War Party. Nobody had any kind of egos. They weren't trying to do it, and they were real investigators. Like, people don't understand the difference between public investigation and residential investigations. Public, we have a lot of fun. We bring out tons of equipment, and we like to research and try things out. And where residentials is more serious, working with people. And they were one of the first teams that I encountered that were so good with residentials and the way they did them, and being real about it, not going in there and just saying, "Oh, you got demons and there's things flying around all over the place," and it was good. And Scotty, I remember I had met her for years, but I had known her, but I had never investigated with her at the time. And they were doing a show. They were doing something at the Gulfstream Hotel when they still had that. I was lucky enough to get in there before they lost it. I was in there like 3 or 4 times, I think. It was a lot of fun. I liked that place. But the first time I went, they were doing like a public thing. They had some people coming in, and they were doing like tours with people and showing them around and everything. So I kind of I'm a respectful person, so I sat there and I didn't want to just go off on my own, even because it was there. It wasn't my investigation. So I said that at the thing. I said, I went up to her and I go, "Hey, do you mind if I go up here?" And she's like, "Yeah, go ahead." And I said, "All right." She goes, "What do you want me to do? Hold your hand?" That's she was. But no, she was a great person. She was a great investigator. I mean, she's so missed. It's weird. The last time I went back to yesteryear to investigate, and she wasn't there, it was odd to me. It was real strange to not have her there.
Yeah.
She was a huge supporter of everybody on that team and everything, and she just definitely missed.
Yeah, she was definitely like mother hen with everybody,
She was. She was.
Yeah.
She
And that's
was,
that was her night out. That was their nights
yeah.
out. When I used to go to Gulfstream, they were just hanging out. They'd have pizza, they have food. They'd go up, investigate, come back down, hang out. It was just like a fun night. It was like what they did.
Yes, true.
Given okay to do exorcism, I said I'm giving it to this, right? Can you read that?
So there, that's a touchy thing with some people will agree with that. I do not agree with that. An exorcism has to be done by the clergy. Now it depends. Demonologists, for years and years, demonologists were only people of the clergy. And, I bring this up because it wasn't until recently that I actually started using the term demonologist. I don't know if you guys remember, I always used to say demonology specialist because I've been studying demonology and actually assessing cases for almost 30 years. But I'm not clergy, and I was never given the title by the clergy or recognized, so I never used it until recently I was. So I have a letter of recommendation, and now I use the title. And I did the same thing. It didn't matter. Just, to me, I respected the title. I never used it. But as far as an exorcism, I mean, I can go in and do what's called a minor rite of exorcism, which is more of like a deliverance blessing of a home, but I cannot do, and I would never try to do an actual exorcism. Now, if the demonologist was part of the clergy and trained to do exorcisms, yeah, probably, but otherwise, no. That has to be done by the clergy, in my opinion. There are some that do it, but I wouldn't trust it. I've assisted in things, but there's no way I would go out and do that on my own.
Do you have what is your suggestions or tips for not only investigators but maybe for people in general about how to be protected with anything negative that they might encounter and that has worked for you and your team?
Everybody is different, honestly. It's first of all, you go by your faith. What is it? It doesn't have to be Catholic, Jewish. It doesn't matter. Whatever your faith is, even if you're just spiritual, that's what is going to protect you, what you believe in. I have a special Catholic prayer that I say before and after. When I say it with my team, most of my team is not Catholic, but I say it with them because I'm saying it and I believe in it, so it's going to protect them also.
It's your intention behind it.
Right. Yeah, it's all about your intentions. But I mean, I have tons of stuff on. I always wear crystals and things that are blessed by priests and bishops, and I got my new Saint Michael charm, and anything that you feel will protect you is what you do. And don't ever provoke things. Don't ever be disrespectful to the living or the dead when you're in there. That's all. Just be respectful. Most of the time, you're okay. This stuff does not work all the time because I've had attachments, unfortunately. We could talk about that, even from the Riddle House. And one of the few that I don't understand why, but you just do what you think. Do as much as you can. Make sure you do it before. I have one that's after, and that's really it. Just be cautious. Don't. If you trust your gut, if you feel something's not right, leave. There's no reason to hang around if you're feeling uncomfortable or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Trust your gut.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't really do that. Maybe they want to push it, and then something goes wrong after that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, Bill, so actually, this kind of goes a little bit into what I wanted to talk to you about. So, going back to Scotty, then, yeah, we're gonna go and meet up. We're gonna go to MegaCon, and we're gonna go and see someone we've never heard of. All right, so we're gonna go, and I'm like, all right. So I go and I go to get like things like this signed. I love.
Right.
I just love animes and things like
You
that.
see how Bill's room is in the back, like all that? Well, imagine a room like that, but just Funkos
Yeah.
and sports stuff.
and sports stuff.
And video
this
game
is his
stuff.
man cave.
So
Legit.
I'm like, all right, so we're gonna go meet Bill. If Bill's friendly with Scotty and Zap, so we have to go meet him. And we got to go and investigate, or not investigate, but we got to go see you talk. And first of all, props to you, because I would be nervous talking in front of a whole bunch of like a panel
Right.
like you do.
Let me interrupt you there for a minute. Let me explain something for anybody who does not know. I am terrified of public speaking. Okay.
Really?
I hate it. I never liked it. I've gotten used to it because I like doing this. You know, I like
Your
going
subject.
and talking. So like I started years ago at libraries and things. And you know, you get anywhere from 2 to maybe 100 people, whatever. The one you're talking about, I believe, was in 2021, right? It was during COVID. Everybody still had masks
Yes.
that first time. Yeah. I will never forget that, because I was not a guest that year. I was just there for, they let us do a panel, and it was just me and my teammate Daniela. And we were sitting outside the room waiting for the other room, you know, the one before us to clear out. And Daniela was talking to the lady that was running the room, and she goes, "Oh, you know, I'll be fine if it's like 50 people or so." And she goes, "Good luck with that. People have been coming here for the past like 4 hours asking if they could line up." And we're like, "What?" You know, I couldn't even believe it, to be honest. So we went in the room, and I'm like, "Wow, the room's pretty big." But we start setting stuff up, and the lady opens the door and she goes, "Can we let people in?" I go, "Yeah, let them in." And we have a video of it. You can see it on my face. When they started filling up that room, I was petrified. Danielle was looking at me. She goes, "Don't you freak out on me. Don't you freak out." Because but honestly, now I've learned to enjoy those crowds more. The bigger crowd, the more interaction you have. When you go, I've been to libraries where 10 people show up and nobody wants to say a word, and it's hard to work with a group like that. But when you have 500 plus in a room, you know, I still, you'll see me. The thing I have the hardest is talking about myself. When I first start, I feel weird talking about myself.
That's
So I
me
start
too,
stumbling.
yeah.
Yeah. I start stumbling a bit, and then I start going. But
Yeah, I
that was
don't-
an interesting one. But I didn't mean to interrupt you with that story. But
No,
yeah.
that's cool. I
funny.
love
Yeah.
I love like all that like director's cut stuff, if you will, like the
Oh.
stuff behind the
Yeah.
scenes that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then it ended up being, we're getting stuff signed and meeting like the you know, the anime voices and celebrities that we like, and we're gonna go meet Bill Slevin because recommendation from Scotty, and that's her friend. Let's go meet him.
Yeah.
Right.
And that
You know, the biggest team.
yeah.
It's
And-
huge in Florida,
in
period.
Florida.
So, of course.
Yeah.
And honestly, that ended up being like the highlight to me of MegaCon. And it wasn't even intentionally going to be that, but we go and I'm like, man, this guy is awesome. Like I felt like I learned a lot.
Yeah, very cool.
So if you get a chance to sit into one of Bill's panels, please do. He's in MegaCon every year, right, Bill? Every year you go to MegaCon?
We've been there the last like 3 or 4 years, and hopefully we'll be there this year. I'll know probably sometime next month. I assume they're going to have us back. Last year, you saw they gave us.
You
We
had
had
a
like
line.
90 feet of
huge
space.
line.
It was
Friend.
massive. It was massive. I had
the first panel, we were able to sit front row. This past panel, we weren't able to get front row. That's how much people were there.
One more funny thing about that first panel is it was something I always use with my team, and I joke about. I say, if you remember, I was talking about stuff, and a couple times I mentioned War Party, and I said that they're great people and everybody, and then I had a clip from Gulfstream that they allowed me to use, and you guys came up at the end and you're like, "Oh yeah, we're with War Party," and I was like, "See," I said, "That's why you don't talk bad about people. You never know who's there." Not that I have anything bad to say about them, but I was laughing. I'm like, "See,
You were right front and center, just in case.
You were right at the front.
You'll never believe what Bill said about you.
Taking notes.
No, but I knew that was not going to happen.
So
No,
do you Do you come to the West Coast at all?
Yeah, actually, the West Coast, not West Coast
Yeah.
of Florida.
No, the West
I
Coast on
haven't-
the United
West- all
States.
the way.
Way across, yeah.
I haven't yet. I
Okay.
have a lot of places next year that are very interested in having me outside of Florida. Hopefully,
Okay.
I want to get out there. There's a lot of stuff out there, and it's just I wish I had more time. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish I'd have a full-time job, but I do. But
I think a lot of
yeah,
us-
we try. I want to get more out there because like the panel that they were talking about, I like to go and entertain a little bit, of course, but
Mhm.
we also try to educate. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing, trying to educate
Yeah.
a little bit about what's real, what's not. And, along with having fun and telling the stories of my stuff. That's why this year, a lot of the stuff we're doing is very different. A lot of it I have more focused on me, where I'm talking more about some of my experiences along with
Mhm.
the education,
Yeah. So you're going to be doing UltraCon soon, and a lot of libraries here in South Florida. So, folks, if you're in the area, go check Bill out. If not, definitely check him out. MegaCon is one of the bigger conventions that I think it's actually the biggest one that we have here in Florida.
Oh, it is.
So definitely check him out. But going back to this past con,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna call him by the name John because I don't want to butcher his name. But John is an excellent narrator. And going back to what I wanted to talk to you about was your very first residential case, because the second I heard that story, first the way he narrated it, I swear,
Oh.
Bill, it was kind of like I was watching a movie in my brain.
Yeah, he's
Right.
Excellent. So
Just so
please.
everybody knows what he's talking about, John is the owner of Phantasmagoria, which is a like a theater. I don't even know how to classify them. A theater Circus Soleil type of group that they've been around, I think, for I don't even know how many years, a long time. They're in Orlando, and they do shows all throughout the year, and they're mostly horror based and themed. And every year he's at MegaCon, he has his own show. It's fantastic to go see. And I got friendly with him from a few different shows there, a few different conventions, including MegaCon. And when he brought up the idea about going and doing a show on my stories where he was narrating it, I was just blown away by even the idea. And yeah, it was interesting. I never heard anybody sit there and tell my story, especially in a theatrical way like he does.
Yes. So yeah, please, I wanna pick your brain. Your very first residential case. That's when I
which might goes into Jesse's question about Jesse had a question of what was maybe an experience that haunts you to this day, but I know I think that was maybe one of your
Anything
experiences.
demonic haunts me to this day. They are
Yes.
rare. They are rare, but any of those cases that turned out to be actual demonic cases will haunt me forever. They're things you don't ever want to experience. I do it to help people. I don't ever look forward to them ever because you don't know what's going to happen. We all know movies are movies, and they enhance things for movies, but I can tell you there's a lot of things I've seen in person that you see in the movies, and a lot of that stuff is real at times. It's just, hopefully you don't ever get to see it. But the first one was, I always talk about that a lot because it was my first residential case. Somebody I knew some people that did this, and they needed a guy because one of their guys was sick, and they were just going on an investigation. They talked to the lady, and she had all the stuff, so they wanted to see what was going on. I was blown away that I was being able to go to a residential case. It was 1989, and just to be able to go and get experience from. I didn't know much. I know only what I taught myself, what I learned from books. Went out and did my own thing. So I met the two guys there, and it was very different back then too. They had like one guy had a big shoulder camera. We didn't have little camcorders, big shoulder camera, and like almost like a reel-to-reel tape recorder. And we when we got there, all they said is, "We don't know too much." She said, you know, she's experiencing all kind of crazy things flying around the house. So I was all excited, you know. I was like, I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
see something. So we went in, and we went in probably 5 feet into the house. I mean, we're just in the front doors, and the three of us turned around and ran right out of the house. All three of us were extremely nauseous. We were on the front lawn, almost throwing up, you know. I didn't understand what it was. Didn't smell anything. It wasn't like we went in and smelled something weird. So then, even back then, I always try to go as scientific as I can at first. We want to find natural causes first, you know. So even back then, the first thing I'm thinking was, oh my God, is carbon monoxide? What, you know, something? What could be in that house? Mold? You know, something's in there that
Yeah.
hit us right away. So we kind of gathered ourselves, went back in, opened the door again, went in, and we were fine. And we walked through into the first room, which was like a big, like a living room parlor type of thing. And, you know, we were just walking in. They had shut the lights off already, and we are about to set up. And the cameraman to the right of me, he screamed. I mean, we weren't even there 10 minutes, honestly. Screamed like I'd never heard, threw his camera lens first to the floor, you know, so we knew it wasn't a joke. Flipped the lights on. He was pulling at his shirt like this, and he pulled his shirt over his head, and he had 3 scratch marks from his neck to the bottom of his spine. They were like razor blades, bleeding. There was nothing through his shirts. His shirt wasn't ripped. I didn't know what in the hell was going on, you know, because again, this was my first case. I'm going and thinking it's a ghost, you know, so a spirit, or I'm going to see something, or maybe feel something. And you know, it was terrifying. Anybody who ever says, "Oh, I've gone on demonic cases and I've been part of demonic cases and it doesn't scare me," lying, lying, or have never been on a true demonic case. You know,
Right.
maybe there was something evil in the house. Maybe it was a nasty spirit, but demonic is different.
Right.
So we immediately we got out of there. You know, unfortunately, it wasn't my case, so I wasn't there for the follow up. I do know that they got a priest involved, and they went there and did a minor rite of exorcism on the house. We told the lady to leave and not stay there for the night, you know, until they could find somebody. Most people, and those people never did this again after that. They stopped doing this. They were frightened out of their minds, you know. Most people in my situation, being especially your first case, probably would have never done it again. It
No.
led me to want to do this more and gave me a million questions in my head. Honestly, it's what kind of drove me to get into, I say, like a calling, to get into it the way I did, because I left there going, why didn't I get attacked? You know, why did I attack him? I didn't know crap about protection and stuff back then, you know, and people weren't wearing crystals and things back then. It wasn't like that, you know. I had faith, but I didn't have the type of faith that I was gonna walk in there and encounter that, you know. So
Yeah.
I didn't understand what happened, why it happened, and that's what kind of led me down that road. You know, I don't think I would have ever started, you know, even studying or learning about demons and things like that, demonology, whatever, because I didn't think I would ever see something like that, you know. So
I like that you said that.
Yeah.
That why him? Why not you? Why not the other
Yeah.
person? Because
right.
these are things that I have actually thought about myself going into different places. So
Yeah.
that's really good.
And what I always say to people now, if that was nowadays, I don't think I would have believed it. I would have expected it was set up for YouTube, somebody, but this was in 1989. People weren't talking
89.
about
There was
this.
not internet back then.
There was
Yeah.
no social media. They weren't going to the news. There was nothing about this. You know,
Yeah.
it was quiet, and it's why I believed it. And plus, there's no way somebody could have done that. I mean, even though we were in there only 10 minutes, I had been outside with those guys probably for close to an hour, talking and trying to find out what was going on, and we were talking about what we were going to do and how. So it's not like he could have set that up. I mean, those things were bleeding, you know, and there was nothing through his shirt. There was not. It was a lot of questions I had when I left there.
Wow. And that was your very first case, right? You said?
That was my first ever residential, you know, maybe public. I mean, I had done a few things on my own. I've been to some cemeteries and some places where I heard, but nothing like that ever, you know. And I didn't
Wow.
really have equipment and stuff back then. It was
So
different.
have you ever had a case like you needed like backup or you needed somebody else to come in like to help you clear it out or
Yeah, I mean, at first, as I learned, it's one of the things I tell people now. This is not a competition.
right?
It's not who's better than who. If you don't know what it is and you're not sure, ask for help.
For help, yeah.
Contact somebody for help. You believe me, it's better to get the help than to be in a dangerous situation.
Right.
You
Because
know,
there's so many different stuff you're dealing with, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
I
one might
mean,
have dealt with it before and when, you guys compare notes or whatever.
right,
I
and that's
like
how you
that.
learn. I mean, I started out
Exactly.
going to
Yeah.
people for help, calling in help to where I got to the point where they were now calling me in as an assessor to
Mhm.
go in and I'm called in to assess demonic cases to see.
Mhm.
And it's yeah, you ask for help. There's
Has
no
any has any of it has any of it been like poltergeists? Like have you dealt with like the
well,
poltergeists?
I have seen that and now this is where my background is tough because most people who are a demonologist are not a parapsychologist or the other way around.
Right.
But they kind of
Right.
believe two different things. Parapsychology is more about telekinesis and things being done through people's energy and psychic abilities as opposed to ghosts and demons. Like
Mhm.
there's a study in parapsychology for many, many years with actual proven cases where poltergeist activity, a lot of it they believe is caused by teenagers' energy, especially female teenagers going through puberty and everything, that their energy shift is so strong that it literally makes things move in the home. So if you have a bunch of kids, if you have, that can actually cause things that they consider poltergeist activity. But I
Right.
have been in homes where I have seen things fly off counters and move, and not not to the extent of full poltergeist activity like the movie. I mean, I've seen most of that stuff happen, but um, it's hard to say. I don't think I've ever gone into a case saying this is a poltergeist. A little bit because of my background with parapsychology. A lot of stuff people don't realize is caused by energy. It's caused by emotions. It's caused by many different things in the home. Sometimes not a ghost. Your shift in energy is a lot, and you can manifest things into your home. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
And people don't know that.
yeah,
They'll do it without even realizing they're doing it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just going back to you've done a little north of 1,000 residentials, correct?
About yeah, I can't even count anymore. I have no idea. Over 35 years, yeah. It's been around 1,000, give or take. And that doesn't mean everyone
Yeah.
I went to the house. Sometimes we don't have to go. We can do stuff, without. But yeah, it's been a lot.
So doing kind of like the math, give or take, on the numbers that you say could have possibly been demonic or something else, it's about a 1%. So it's not a
Yeah,
common
it's very
thing.
small.
A lot of
No,
folks automatically assume it's demonic or something wrong, but it could very well be just like you're stating, the energy of the location, how you are acting.
right.
Like I've seen instances where it's a father was abusing the family, and alcohol
Yeah.
was involved, and that seems to be
Yeah.
the more common thing, if you will.
I think so
Mhm.
too.
Y- Yeah,
Substance
I
abuse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
absolutely. During the day, if for people who don't know, during the day I'm an IT director. So I've been in technology for 33 years too, which helps me because I know all about equipment and cameras and how they work
Yeah.
but I work at a psychiatric drug and alcohol treatment facility for the past 11 years. So I've
Nice.
learned a lot about psychiatric illness, about addiction, about everything like that. I've studied psychology, I studied metaphysics, I've studied a lot of things because a lot of times when we go to the homes, this is what we deal with. And we're there to help them. We're a nonprofit, we don't charge, but we're there to help them no matter what their situation is. If we feel it's not a ghost, we don't just leave and say, okay, you're fine. So, we're going to try to get them the help that they need, because a lot sometimes it's both. People who have a psychiatric illness are more susceptible to things. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things involved, and that's why my team is very handpicked by me, and everybody on that team, they some of them learn from me, and some of them have many of their own education in different fields. I have a fully
Mhm.
licensed psychologist on my team. There's so many different people we have that help everything. But let's see. So
Yeah, read.
for for demonic, so it's tricky. It's not as easy as you think. Um, because a lot of things can mimic the demonic, like an illness, an addiction. When you walk into a house and somebody's hearing voices telling them to kill somebody or kill themselves or something like that, you have to know the difference between, a voice in their head and a voice out in the area, and
Mhm.
also right. And you might
Yeah.
encounter somebody off their medication. You might encounter
Mhm.
somebody who doesn't know they have an illness. You
Right.
know, and again, you might encounter somebody who has both.
Yeah.
And for when I'm called in to actually assess a case, it's a different thing because usually at that point they've already been there investigating. Somebody's been there to investigate and see, and they've already found that something weird is going on and they don't know how to explain it, and it's more violent. So when we go in, unfortunately, really the only way to fully know if it's demonic, that's when you have to provoke. And I don't recommend it unless you know what you're doing. You have to use, and again, some people will disagree with me because people learn different parts of demonology. I learned mostly Catholic demonology. So for me, the only way to know truly is with religious provocation.
Mhm.
You got to do a prayer, you got to do a blessing, you got to use holy water, pull out a cross, do whatever you have to do to try to pull it out and see what it is and who it is.
Right.
But you need to know, yes, you need to know um, what to do or how to handle it or what. Because if you just go to a house and you don't know anything about it and you just start blessing the home and throwing holy water around and you piss something off, you're gonna be putting yourself in danger. And then the thing is, you leave, and now that family's there and they have to deal with whatever you just did. Same
Yeah.
thing with somebody running in and just telling somebody it's demonic. You're causing a problem, even if it's not.
Right.
So how would you tell if it's the person that's like the root cause, or it's the house that's affecting the person?
99% of the time, something demonic has been called in. Ouija board seances, rituals. Normally, it's called in because it's not just like a demon floating from house to house looking for somebody. Normally, they are called in. Sometimes they can be brought in by people who maybe have a really bad addiction or a bad mental illness that they're so far broken down because a demon's goal is to harm you or have you harm somebody else. And what they're looking for is they're looking for somebody to use as a host in a way.
Right.
They're looking to possess you and they're looking for somebody who they can easily oppress and break down. So if somebody has an illness or an addiction, they're already oppressed a bit.
Right.
So they're
Yes.
easier to take over in a way. So it's it's a very tricky thing. Actual possession is even 1% of the demonic cases.
Mhm.
It's very, very small percentage. Some people are very Christian and they believe very different, and I have nothing against that. They believe everything is a demon, that there's no ghosts, there's demon. And you know, everybody has a different belief in things. I haven't experienced that ever in my life. The demons were very different than ghosts. And they reacted very differently. You can't go to a house and sage a demon out of the house. It's not going to do anything. Sage and your intent and all that is not going to do anything. If it's something demonic, there's different stages. Like I said, you have infestation, oppression, and possession. Infestation is normally what you encounter where they're in the home because they were brought in and they're trying to oppress somebody to take them over. So they're in the house working on everybody, and that's easier to get out. They usually do like minor rite of exorcism or deliverance prayers or things like that. But if it gets to the stage of possession, I mean, it's a different thing. I mean, it could take days, weeks, months, years. It's not an easy thing, and you have to have those psychiatric evaluations and medical evaluations and everything to clear, because you can harm somebody really bad if you tell them they have a demon and then find out that they don't and they're schizophrenic, because now they're going to think whatever they're hearing is going to kill them, and you can't fix their illness.
So how do you know, like, how long does it take you to know the difference between an angry ghost who's mimicking a demon or an actual demon?
Well, that's where if I was called in to assess something like that, or if I was on a case where it seemed like a little, demons are violent.
Okay,
They start out doing little things like knocking and voices and things to try to get you to acknowledge them. Once they get past that, their goal is to take you over. So they're going to harm you, they're going to attack, they're going to do things, they can move things a lot more than a ghost can. They can knock things around, and I'm gonna have to take out the cross, take out do a blessing and something like that to call it out and demand its name, which you normally shouldn't do. But that's how you find out. That's the main way to find out. And again, at that point, you have to be ready to get help for that.
Yeah.
Because it's, can they hide? Can they trick you? Yeah, they can trick you. But with religious provocation, they can't really hide from that. It's very different. It's hard to explain for people that haven't, like everybody out there listening that has not encountered that. Unless you encounter it, I don't even expect people to understand it. It's a very, very. I've had a case where we went in and it was with another team too. This was one that they were supposed to do at MegaCon, but because the thing went on so long and people had so many questions between stories, we never got to that third story. But I don't think we got to that one. No, I don't think he did that one. I can't go through that whole thing another time. It's a long story. But just to give you a quick little thing, I went in with a priest, and we were called in by another team that believed it was possibly demonic, and they were telling us what happened, and they wanted us to assess the case. And I told them, okay, listen, do they know we're coming? And they said, no. I said, do not tell them who we are. Do not tell them our names. Do not say anything. Just say we're part of your team. You're coming back to investigate. I talked to the priest. I made him go the first time in street clothes. Don't wear your collar. Don't, I said, let's just go in and see what's going on. Because, you also nowadays, you also have to see, are people, even though this was a while ago, you have to see, are people playing? Are they, making this up? Are they, you got to see, you got to try everything. So we went in, and I mean, we weren't there that long, and they had their mother was there. She was an older lady, and she kept like nodding off. I mean, she was definitely up in her late 80s, I believe. And at one point, she just sat up. It looked like she had fallen asleep. She sat up, and she looked at us, and she said, "You think I don't know who you are, Bill and Father Paul? You think I'm stupid?" And that's where the assessment ends.
Yeah, that's when he already knew who you were. Yeah, that's scary.
There is no need. I pulled the other guy aside. I said, "Listen, did you say something?" He goes, "No." He was frightened out of his mind. He said, "How would they know this? Because they weren't even. This was in Pennsylvania. It wasn't even in my state.
That's something you see in a movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is
Crazy.
It is. She was not possessed, but it was at the point where it was trying to get to her. So it was taking people at times. She wasn't in full possession, but it was a crazy case. But that's something that will stick with you.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
When you see that, because I thought for sure. Again, I grilled these guys afterwards. I'm like, "You sure you didn't say anything?"
I got the goosebumps when you said that. Ooh,
yeah. I hadn't experienced that up to that point. Yeah, I was like,
Wow.
you guys are playing with me or something. I thought for sure.
I know who you are. That's what I'm hearing. My
yeah.
Well, speaking in tongues, I had a question back to your first residential. In hindsight now, why do you think, I meant to ask you that before, but got sidetracked. Why do you think it chose that person?
Oh yeah.
The problem with that is I didn't know the people well. So I don't know a lot about him, but I have to take it as he had something going on in his life. Because like we even tell our teammates, if you're experiencing something like you're let's say you're ill, or you're having a big problem at home, maybe with your husband, wife, kids, you're arguing a lot, you're depressed a little bit, anything, you should not go investigate ever when you're like that, because you're already oppressed.
I say
And
the
it's
same
easy
thing.
for
Yep.
something to attach to you. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking he must have had something going on in his life
Mm-hmm.
at that time that made it go after him. I don't know why. I didn't know them well, and
Yeah.
I never really talked to them much after that. And they went right out of the whole field after that. They didn't do anything after they finished that case. So
And that was something we talked about. Exactly, the answer you gave was something we talked about. I think was it last weekend?
I believe so.
Yeah. No, it's literally what I would think. Okay.
That's cool.
yeah, never. I tell people, if I find out, I'll yell at my team members if I find out that we're, not telling me something and they were like really sick the night before. So you just shouldn't. I mean, if you want to go on a public thing, that's your choice, but definitely not a residential, because you're getting more involved. You're sitting there, you're talking, you're dealing with a lot of stuff that you can take on yourself. The energy, like my wife was saying, energy is a lot. And your energy can pass through to people. Their energy can pass through to you. So it's not good to do that. Not saying that if you go, something's going to happen, but it's just better not take the risk.
The earlier when we first started, you said that you were affected or taken over by something.
Yeah, I've had attachments before. I haven't had many. The Riddle House. I don't look. I've been to Yesteryear Village and the Riddle House many, many times because of War Party having me over there every time that they do their private. I've been in the Riddle House by myself with people, my own team. Never had an issue. It was 2022. Yeah, 2022. I went there with a couple of my team members, and War Party was having their private investigation there. And this was the first time I have ever been there where they had the attic open in the Riddle House, because the attic is always closed. And that's where, the guy Joseph supposedly hung himself up there. So a bunch of them were already up there doing EVPs for a while. So me and my teammate David went up, and we joined them. And I believe it was Joe. I know it was JC's recorder, but it was Joe that said, he started talking directly, like, to me. He said, okay, this guy's never been in the attic before. He has a new device. So what I want you to do is talk directly to him, whatever. And we all laughed at first because I use it in my presentations now. It is one of the clearest EVPs ever. And it actually spoke over Joe asking the question. And it said straight out, when it said, well, so what I want you to do, and you just hear it say, he's dead. Clear as day. Everybody was freaking out from that. They heard it. It wasn't even a matter of, let's play this 5 times and check it out. I mean, you could hear it. And I laughed about it. I came home and the next morning, my wife was like, oh, did you get anything? Anything happened? I was like, oh yeah, you got to hear this. This is funny. She didn't find it too amusing,
No. Especially since she doesn't like investigation.
No, she did not find it amusing.
You can't.
After that, for the next almost, I would say 2 weeks, I was a complete mess. I was sick. I had nothing wrong with me. I had every type of bad luck you can imagine. It was just like a funk that I have never experienced. I've had an attachment before, but never to this level. I got, I cleansed myself. I got blessed. I got it off. And it went away. And it's funny because when was it? Not too many. It was sometime this year. We went back, and I went with David and one of my other teammates, Rob, were with me, and we went to the attic again. And because I was laughing to myself, I said, "Oh, I'm going to go in the attic and I'm going to go up there." Yeah, it was always locked. They always had a lot of stuff up there, and it was dangerous. The only thing I did do on the way down, I gave everybody my equipment, and I was holding on because those stairs are steep as hell, and I've been pushed before, so I did not want to go down those stairs. So,
That's very true.
But when we went back this year, I didn't even think anything of it. I went right up there with them, and I was there maybe 5 minutes with the two of them, and I had to leave. I almost passed out. I got so dizzy and totally weird. I had to leave. I never went back up into the attic that day. They were up there doing stuff, but I was fine afterwards. But it was real strange. I don't know why. I've been to the Riddle House a lot of times, but I don't know, that attic. Something up there doesn't agree with me. I'll go back, but
Crazy. Yeah.
Here and there, I hear people, they have to leave that house. They don't even go to the attic. They just have to leave the house in general because they get like nauseous or they get sick. They feel like really bad. And many times as me and Armando have been there, never. At first, I thought it was the most boringest freaking house of whole Yesteryear Village. I mean, lying. I was like, this shit is not worth it.
let me tell you.
And then so I started getting little activity.
Yeah, except for that EVP that wasn't on my recorder. It was on JC's recorder. But except for that, I've had a couple little things, but I get way more activity in the L Street house and the other houses there. I used to get like nothing in the Riddle House, a few little things here and there. But yeah, I don't know what it was. And I've been there many times, but I didn't even, it wasn't in my head last time. I just went up there. I didn't even think about it. I'm like, I get it again. I'll get it off, I guess. I don't know. I went up there and I had to leave, and I've never experienced to that level where I had to walk out. I mean, I had to go downstairs and I sat outside, and it took me about 20 minutes to kind of compose myself. I don't know what it was. It was weird.
That's crazy.
And I don't provoke. I don't do anything, wrong, because I don't take that chance.
Hey, so you had brought up the Ouija boards really quick. What would you tell people is the proper way to dispose if they have a situation like that? People will say that they burn them or they toss them out. Or they have
that's a good question.
I wouldn't say burn it. I don't think that's a good idea.
A lot of people say burn it, so I'm like, I don't know.
I would bury it, to be honest with you. I would
bury it with earth.
And for me, I would like say a prayer to it and bury it. To bind it with something and bury it. That's probably the best way. Look, you got to remember this, and this is what I tell everybody. I do this when I teach about this. I don't feel that a Ouija board is some dangerous thing. It's a board. It's made by a gaming company. Before, it's all about your intent and the person using it. Before boards, people used to draw that stuff on a piece of paper and use a cup. So it's not the board that has magical power. Yeah, but the board. I tell people, most people that use the boards are kids playing around, because I did it. Kids playing around, or people grieving, looking for loved ones. And the problem with that is that's where you get into trouble, because they're grieving. Their intent is looking for somebody. They're calling something in, and no matter what it is that's going to lie to them, they're now going to think it's grandma or mom or whatever. And that's how you get yourself in trouble. But anything we use, I have, you guys have seen my setup at MegaCon. I have a ton of equipment. It's bad being IT and paranormal. But all that stuff is the same thing. It's a communication device. So picking up your recorder and asking, is anybody here, does the same exact thing as a Ouija board in a way. It's just that most people play with a Ouija board. Most people don't grab recorders and just go to their houses and start saying, is anybody here? So it's gotten a bad name. It can be dangerous, but the board itself is just a board. All
right.
Yeah.
I had another thing that maybe I want to ask you. I was going to ask, I speak to Bishop Long here and there. And I was going to have him one time on the show. Yeah, he's great. I love listening to him. Like, I listen to his lives all the time. Yeah. That's sometimes what I do on Friday nights is listen to that guy.
At the PIA convention, he was there the one year, and I was hanging out with him, and he was telling some of his stories about some of the exorcisms and stuff. And that's some interesting stuff. It really.
Yeah. I suggest everybody check him out. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I look him up on, I listen to him on Facebook. He has a lot of information in his website too.
Him and Rich Valdez.
One thing I was gonna,
Him and Rich Valdez.
Yes. I was gonna ask him, which I'll ask you because maybe you know something about it. Was so when I see people keep like an example, he has a doll. And my ear is ringing for that. He has a doll that's set in a glass case, and so like the Warrens, they have Annabelle in a glass case. So what is it about a glass case? Like how does that work to keep a
That's a good
spirit or
question.
entity in? Because I
That's a good question. Yeah.
always was curious about that.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've seen that doll in person. That Bishop Long has. But
Oh, the little
yeah, he
thingy.
had it there at the thing. But I don't know if it's so much about the glass. I don't know about if the glass has anything to do with it, but say like Annabelle and stuff. It's not really about the glass. It's about
Okay.
just being encased, and that has a protection around it. It's blessed, and it has a special, binding protection around it. It's not really about the case. It could be any type of
Yeah.
case. I guess they
Right.
put that
Okay.
case to just have it and displayed and whatever, but it's anything you do it in. You can put it in any kind of thing and have it protected. As far as I know, I
What's on
don't
the
know.
inside, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if there's something specific in the type of glass they use or something like that. It could be that part. I don't know.
Okay.
So
Going back to
Black Smoke had said, what's your take on XLS being used as an IT guy?
yeah, that's a good question because
Oh.
I have both. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have one,
Oh man.
and I play around with it. It's interesting. Here's what I'll tell you. It's something that's programmed, and it's programmed originally for the Xbox, and it's programmed to actually constantly map the area looking for a person because it was made for motion games. So
Nice.
it will map out anything. I mean, first of all, if you have furniture there, it's going to map it out. A
Yeah.
chair is a person in 2 seconds. It's
Yeah.
always. I've seen it map out people on wallpaper patterns, bricks. The lines of the bricks in the walls. What you have to look for, and there's a lot of people that say, "Well, I reached out and it reached out toward me." Now that thing it
Just
moves
going. It's
around
just
erratically.
glitching. Yeah.
So I say two things. First of all, make sure there's nothing in the area that it could easily map out. Like, if you're going to go into a room with furniture and everything, there's no way you're going to judge it like that. Also, you have to remember that's what it's made to do. Look for specific signs. I've had two in my life that I can't explain, and it made me wonder about it. And they were at the old Belglade prison. One was it was actually standing there, did not move. There was nobody in front of this camera. I was in the medical facility. And the crazy part about it is, how up in the corner it has the other little window, and if you have somebody in front of it, it maps out the actual person around the stick figure.
Mhm.
It did that. And there was nobody in front of this camera. It didn't move. It just stood there, and it had an actual shape of a person around it. So I can't explain why. And then the other one was here, and it ran off the screen. So
Oh yeah.
if it can move and it's going to dance around because that's what it's made to do, because it's not detecting your arms and legs, so it's not sure what to do. But if it runs off the screen, yeah, that's something maybe you have to look into.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's fun to play with, and I tell people, go to a public thing and use it. Don't use it on a residential, but use it in a public location, whatever. But understand that it's hard to say it's evidence just because there's too many things to cause false positives on it.
Well, we use one at the it's a Victorian house that's haunted, and we brought our son who's skeptical about the paranormal. He doesn't believe anything about it or anything into it. He's just scared. But anyway,
Right.
we had the XLS, and we were at the table, and there was stuff that could pick it up. I would say, but that little stick figure was sitting next to him, and we were like, "Can you wave?" And it would wave, and then it would stop. And we were like, "Can you touch his head?" It would touch his head. Like it was crazy. It was like doing it on command, and then it would move back, or like my son would go like this, and it would like jump back. It's the weirdest
that's
thing.
the thing. It's the XLS is different than the SLS.
Yeah.
They're two different things.
Well,
They
this was
work
the
a lot.
SLS.
Right.
Sorry.
They work
Yeah.
a lot of the same. The XLS, again, there's programming involved in these things. It's not just a camera that's doing it. It's the programming inside the software that creates these things. You know,
Yeah.
so again,
Yeah.
could it be something? It absolutely can.
But then it
But
could also be an
it's
object
right, but it's too hard to
too.
debunk that. I mean, it's too easy to debunk that to
Yeah.
say it's real evidence. Could it be
Right,
something?
right,
Yeah,
right.
I use those 2 clips that I have to show that I don't know what that is, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I just say it's interesting. I just
yeah.
say I'm not calling it paranormal. It's interesting.
Right. Don't use phone apps. Everybody, I mean, if you want to play around with them and stuff, don't use phone apps. There's people that will argue to the grave with me about it. I'm telling
Mhm.
you, as an IT guy, I've worked with people that develop apps, and they are programmed to do what they do. They use a lot of them use not everyone, but a lot of them use GPS to know where you are. They're using active listening to know what you're saying. They're using AI to respond to you. If the simple thing is put on Spirit Talker, okay, get Spirit Talker and get another device, even an Ovilus, which again is still a word bank, and put it there. The Spirit Talker doesn't shut up. You could put it there,
Yeah.
and you don't have to say a word, and it will have full-on conversations with itself.
Yeah.
We know that spirits can manipulate electronics. Can they manipulate a phone? Of course, but they're not going to go and just use this app. Pull out your recorder, and why aren't you getting the same things on your recorder? Because the app is programmed. It
Right.
does. And just because you didn't tell it, I give you permission to use my contacts. I'm telling you, as IT, that doesn't mean anything. That stuff has access to everything in your phone.
So
Everything.
can it hear you? Like, is it listening? Like, do you think it's the same with like a spirit, like like a word database box?
Mhm.
Do you think it's the same thing? Like the
Um,
Ovilus or
well, no, the obvious is different. I mean, it has. I mean, it has some sort of programming in it, but it's a little different than a phone app, because the phone apps were made for entertainment.
for
They really
listening?
are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think about it like this: they're made to produce false positives.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you won't, even if you take the Ovilus and put it next to the Spirit Talker, you're not going to get the same stuff. You're
Right.
not going to get Spirit Talkers. Again, if you want to play around with them, and see what it does, and but they don't. Your phone doesn't have a lot of the technology that some of these apps make it believe that that it has. It doesn't. There are certain sensors in your phone that can pick up stuff, but not to the event of some of these. Not to the level of some of these apps.
Right. Right. I don't use apps anyway, but every once in a while, I was just curious. It doesn't make sense though. But I do have like a generic Ovilus I bought on Etsy that is a word data bank, and that thing is like, I don't know, because I'm always a skeptic before I'm a believer, and
Right,
that
right.
sometimes that thing is just spitting out shit. Excuse my language. That correlates to the history of the haunting, and
Right.
it's the weirdest thing. So I'm like, is there a little speaker listening to me?
Right, right.
I'm like, or even like a REM pod. I'm like, is there a sensor in there where it goes off? Is that's just my brain?
Right.
Because I really want to know, like as well as everybody else, I really want to know if this stuff is going off because it's mechanical and it's supposed to, or is it really?
Look, it's anything. That's the problem
Yeah.
with stuff. On the scientific side, you
Yeah.
can say certain things as long as you can understand that certain things will have a lot of false positives. Doesn't
Mhm.
mean that you're not getting actual responses.
Right.
I'll talk about it.
Yeah. Oh,
The DR60s.
somebody has
Okay.
2 of them. I wonder who that is.
I'm going to get to this question in a minute, but there's a lot of controversy behind the DR60s.
Yeah.
I've had some of the clearest EVPs on there. That's where the "he's dead" came from. So do I believe they work? Yeah, as long as you understand that every sound that comes out of the DR60 is something.
Right.
Could it be? It could be. But when you get a bunch of garbled noise, I look at it this way. For me, if I can't clearly make it out, and we can't clearly make it out, then to me it's done. I don't consider it anything. Could it have been something? Maybe it was, but we couldn't understand it. So
Yeah.
it's pointless even sitting there, because if you sit there and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing, and eventually audio pareidolia is going to go in your head, and you're going to hear something, whether it's
Right.
something somebody else said or something you're trying to hear. So
Right.
once you get it and it's not audible, move on to the next one. But they do work,
Yeah.
but it's not like, you know, you got to understand what it is and the flaws that it had in it. So,
Mhm.
but they're
That's
great.
true.
I bring it with me everywhere, and it
Yeah.
produces some amazing results. But
Mondo
this one I'd
doesn't
like
leave
to
home
hear.
without it. It's like American Express.
I don't American Express. That's right. I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
mine too,
on
and
it.
I use both of them. But
But will
I'm
I
just
tell
like
you?
Bill.
But
He
will I
even
tell
linked the
you?
credit card to the damn thing.
Yeah. But will I tell you that this $30 recorder is worth it to go out and spend $4,000 to get one? No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
'cause,
Not anymore.
you know,
No.
What
that's
yeah,
can't get 'em.
no, you can't get them for anything less than $3 or $4 nowadays.
Yeah.
I've seen two, but they're bid,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're missing.
We
They're missing
use
a
them
button.
and-
No, they just bid. They start bidding at 2,000.
Oh,
so it's
they
gonna
start
go
bidding.
up
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like 3, 4,
And
whatever.
And it's because, you know why? It's because of the lore behind it and the fact that the TV shows and the YouTube channels use it. And the reason it's so popular, say in the YouTube channels, is because it's instant results. Like, you
Yes.
know, we go on investigations and could be on there for
Mhm.
10 hours and capture absolutely nothing. It's what we do. But you can't have that for a TV show or YouTube channel. So if you
Right.
take that, 9 out of 10 times, something's going to come out of it, whether it's something real or something not, you know. But that last question, I'd like to hear more about that to understand exactly what was going on to answer that one. But
Jesse,
Yeah, Jesse.
elaborate more on your question.
Jesse, if you can elaborate more, so that way Bill can answer. Yeah, going back to the DR60, we use it if we can't make it out after the second attempt, we just delete it.
yeah,
Mhm.
Or
I'm
we'll
not
be
going to
like,
say they're
hey, can you
garbage.
say the answer
Right.
again or something again? Yeah, that's
Right.
what we do.
I'm not going to say they're garbage, like some of the skeptics will say, oh, they're complete garbage, because, you know,
Right.
it was known to have a flaw, and it's why Panasonic stopped making it and the whole thing. But the flaw doesn't give you straight out responses. Now, if I heard like that thing said he's dead, okay. Now,
Right.
if it said something that somebody else said in the question, then you can start to say, well, did it repeat the word? Did it hear it and repeat the word? You know, but he's dead. Nobody said that. You know what I mean? So it's not like
Mhm.
it heard what we said and played it back. You know, it's a little different. So, you know, I still have tape little recorders with cassette tapes that I'll
Yeah.
pull out every once in a while and use. The problem with those is you have to use a brand new tape. You can't use old tape because
Yeah, because
it
it'll
never
record over.
fully goes off. Yeah, and you'll never know 100% if maybe you had a voice prior on there that never fully erased. You know, it's a little
Right,
different
yeah.
than digital. Yeah, it's different than digital.
Jesse said that. So his question was about the NDE. Hold on. So he wanted. Where is it?
It was right under Dan Text putting a link.
Yeah. So his first was in total darkness, no light, like no. You know how I guess people say like, oh, you hear like the heavens singing and all this,
Right.
whatever everybody experiences. But he wants to know why he didn't experience any of that. He had died at a car wreck with an 18-wheeler and coma for 3 months, relearned everything, but that's where I went. That I guess he had died through that. So he was just wondering, I guess, why he didn't experience that. I don't know. Oh, that's where I was in total darkness. Yeah.
Right. That's I don't know. I'm not sure how to answer that one. It's, you know,
Yeah.
people get, some people see something, some people don't.
Mhm.
You know, some people believe it's them being called by relatives, being called to go somewhere. Sometimes it's somebody saying it's not their time. You don't know, because you don't know. We don't know enough of what's going on with the brain during that time. You know, are you
Yeah.
reliving? Do you know something so bad, and maybe you're reliving some sort of experience, or something's coming into your head that, you know what I mean? There's so many options with that, you know, that we don't fully know, and I haven't studied a lot on that, so it's a tough thing. I mean, you know, I know some people have and wonder why they didn't have anything or wonder why they did. Um, that one I don't know. There are experts on that. There are some people that are real experts on those things, and it's nothing I haven't experienced it, luckily.
Yeah.
So I don't I'm not sure about that.
Oh, Surviving Death on Netflix. I agree, James. That's a good watch.
Yeah.
Surviving death.
Oh man.
Yes. Have you seen
So-
that?
No.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Surviving
Speaking
Death.
of-
What is it
What is-
about?
that's from people who
And
like
he's-
passed away.
Yeah, it's about NDEs.
near-death
Near
experience.
death experiences.
Is it a
Yeah.
TV show? Is it a TV show?
Yeah, it's like a little series.
Surviving. I'm gonna
Yeah,
text
it's
you.
like a documentary series, I think.
Yeah, like a document.
Okay.
Speaking of shows,
Yes.
one of the five of us has been on one.
The what?
So
Hmm?
one of the
Oh,
five
yeah,
of us has
I-
been on a show before on Discovery Plus. If you guys get a chance, it's Shock Docs, and it's an episode about. It's called The Devil's Academy, and
Yes.
it's featuring Bill Slevin right here, guys. So please check that out. It was an awesome watch.
Yes.
It actually has a story to do about our hometown,
Wait,
Miami.
the Devil's Academy.
Yes.
The Devil's Academy, definitely check that out. So a lot of the schools down here were known for like partying, sports, things of that nature. Even
This-
like movie
was
companies, they
different.
want to do. They want to do
Yeah,
movies about like high school times. He like the Porky's and Porky's 2, The Substitute, things of that nature. They
Right.
film a lot of movies about that, but this is something I know. Talking with Jenny about it, she's heard about it here and there. I've never heard of this story before, and going back to possessions,
I remember
and
those.
Wait, what is it? What is it streaming on? Netflix, Prime,
No,
Amazon?
it's on
Discovery Plus.
Discovery Plus and Max.
Okay.
And yeah. You could find it on the Travel Channel sometimes because it's a shock doc.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. See, that's the thing. It was the Miami Aerospace Academy, and it was a military school run by a guy from Cuba that was
Mhm.
totally abusing the kids.
Yes.
So there are two sides to this story. I was brought in for my knowledge of demonology and demons to talk about what I thought, because unfortunately this was back in 1979.
Correct.
And we didn't have cameras on everything, and it wasn't like a lot of things that they had footage of. But from what they understand, the school, besides abusing these kids mentally and physically, they were letting them play with Santeria, Ouija boards, hypnosis, all kind of different things, not teaching them, just letting them do it. And that's where a lot of people believe that this was a mass possession of the school. So there's some that say the kids acted out because they were oppressed and they just decided one day to finally act out and go crazy. And the other half says that the school, was possessed, because the thing is, there's both to it. I mean, you can understand both sides of it, but there's witnesses and they had some great, eyewitnesses from the actual event. The one kid jumped out the second floor window. He jumped right through the window and landed face first on the pavement outside. And the security guard ran over to see what happened, and he got up and didn't have a scratch on him and threw the security guard across the parking lot. So you can be oppressed all you want, but you definitely are not, surviving a second story fall face first into the concrete. They say that the girl who was under hypnosis actually levitated off the floor and said that she was possessed by the devil. So they ripped doors off the hinges. There was like so much going on. So, that's why I was brought in. It was an interesting experience with the show. And when I went on at first, it was supposed to be me and they said they had an exorcist. And then they brought a few other people on, Michael Salerno and some people that are known. But if you have a chance to watch it, it's a 2-hour documentary. It's a shock doc, and it's actually done really, really well. So they make it like a mini horror film, It's a cool little show, and there's a lot of information in there, and you kind of take it on what you believe. I mean, I'm not going to go against Michael Salerno. I have nothing to say against him. He's fine, but I'm not going to go against the other guy on there. he's more everything's demons, 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 and I don't totally agree with that, but something definitely was not right here. I would not say it was just an oppression of kids. If the kid really jumped out that window and landed there, that's. I know you can have superhuman strength and do certain things, but you can't just smash through a window and not have a scratch on you.
Right.
No. Second story.
Not a scratch, not blood, not a broken bone, nothing. Nothing happened to him.
Exactly.
You can't say it's adrenaline or anything like that because you're not surviving that, or even not any sense of the word harm. Nothing happened to this kid.
Jesse said that damn Cuban coffee got you possessed. It was an espresso.
Yeah,
I was not alive in 1979, guys, to make these people coffee. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It was 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know about it.
Little Havana too, so.
I was 9. I don't know about it from back then, but I had heard about it before this. I had heard about it before this. It was also around the time of the Satanic Panic and everything. So, everybody was going crazy, and it was a big thing. But then I think after that, they covered it up. They wanted to just, not that they covered it, they wanted to quiet it. There are a lot of students that were there that I believe started a whole Facebook group against this whole show because they were there. I don't know if they were involved in the actual thing, but they were there and they don't believe it happened and things like that. But, unfortunately, we don't have footage of it, but we do have eyewitness. I think some of the people they had on there was like, I think it was the fire chief and the police chief from the time that it went on. And they were there. They were the first responders. So, I mean, I don't know, what do they have to gain from it?
Manipulate that. And there was 2 students that were in class when that happened.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to fabricate that. I mean, who knows if to the extent that the show said is what happened, but something definitely happened there. There's no denying that, and there's no denying that the cadets were being abused by the staff and the gentleman that was running the location, because before this story came out, he was already in trouble with the news. The news was on to them before that happened.
Right, and you think I have nerves getting up in front of the groups, at the libraries and the conventions. You should have seen me at that thing. That was a different experience. I had been on Ghost Asylum before that, but this was a different experience. I sat down and they had like 3 different cameras and 2 different microphones, and one pinned on me, one above me. They had 3 people there asking questions. It was an interesting experience. I remember leaving there going, "Oh my God, what did I say?" What did I say?
You forget what you even said.
All the way home, I was telling my wife, "Oh my God, I'm gonna have to hide after this."
Yeah.
It threw me off the way they did it. It was a little different, and I actually had given up on that show because I filmed that, I think 3 years prior to it going out. I kept telling people, "Hey, I'm going to be on a show on Discovery," and then it just never happened, and they never told me it was even airing. I kept calling, nobody told me anything, and then all of a sudden, it was Father Ken from the Warrens. He sent a picture through our chat of me on the TV, and I'm going, "What the hell is that?" Because I didn't even know the name was the Devil's Academy at the time. They didn't have the name for the show and everything, and so I had no idea it was even airing when it aired.
That sucks.
Oh.
It was fun. It was a fun experience.
Should have told you.
Yeah, I know.
What? Yeah.
You'd have got a notification or something.
Hey, you're gonna be on TV.
Yeah, I was told. I was told that anybody who's part of the shows are put onto a list and they're notified once the show is finalized and when it's going to air. No.
maybe you missed that. Maybe you missed that text message.
Yeah, it was funny because every time I would talk or in my bios and stuff, I would say, I filmed for a show that's supposed to be a shock doc, coming out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, coming out next year. Coming out sometime. I kept changing it. And then I just kind of gave up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ask about the thing about the residentials about tips or something, or the thing?
No, I never did get to ask that. So in case, Bill, like anybody in the our audience is interested in doing residentials with their team, what advice would you give to them?
Two things. If you're gonna start residentials, I say find somebody who's had experience doing residentials first. Either work with them or bring them in with you. Also, you have to have the mindset of there's nothing in here until you find out there is. Do not if you talk to the client and the client says, "Hey, we saw things move. We've been hearing voices. There's knocks on the doors. There's not." Assume they're imagining it. Really, go in with an open mind that, yeah, of course it can be, but go in with an open mind that it can be something else. Look for the natural causes first. Ask a lot of questions. Learn how to read people. Pay a lot of attention to what they're saying. You can find out a lot of things from the person as they're talking.
Yeah.
Ask them multiple times the same question. See if they, not saying that they're trying to trick you, but
Right.
sometimes maybe we found out from people like they're hearing all this stuff, they're doing this, and then we found out they just did a 14-hour marathon of ghost adventures. That will put it in your head, and
Right.
every little sound is now enhanced, and you're manifesting all this into your house, the sounds and the noises, and now you're paranoid, and now you're freaked out, and everything is just going to be something. So I would say go in there assuming nothing first and look for those natural causes. I have found animals in people's walls. I mean, everything you can imagine, and don't go in like a circus show. Don't go in there with 4 cases of equipment. Don't do that. If you're going to go in a residential, use audio, video, and environmental. Things that do temperature changes, humidity changes, vibrations, things like that. Don't use a K2 in a residential. Use a tri-field meter. Use a real EMF meter, and you're not in there to ask yes or no questions with an EMF meter. That's not what it's for, especially in a residential. You're using it to go around a room and do baseline readings to see where EMF is coming from in that house. Do they have a Wi-Fi? Do they have something? They might have bad wiring in certain places that's pushing off so much EMF energy. And I had a case like this in New Jersey many, many years ago, where the EMF energy was so strong because their wires were unshielded, and it was a very old house, and they were causing so many problems that it was causing them to hallucinate, be nauseous, because EMF can do that. You can't smell it, you can't sense it. That's why they tell you you shouldn't really keep your phones by your bed, when you're sleeping. I do, unfortunately, but you really shouldn't. But learn things like that. Learn how to understand, like, okay, we had a number reading of EMF energy around the room, and now all of a sudden, while we're in here, all of a sudden it's spiked. So where's it coming from? Is it coming from something that we're doing? Is it coming from the Wi-Fi? Is it coming from the air conditioner? There's so many things that can set our equipment off. Like, people believe, okay, a REM pod is a REM pod. Nothing could set that off unless it touches it. Pick up a walkie-talkie and push the button. It sets.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
Like there's so many things like that. Look at that first. Not saying to go in and think, okay, we're never going to experience a ghost or a haunting or whatever, because you will. But learn, because you're also dealing with a person, and like I said before, if they have something wrong with them and you don't realize an illness or something, what you say, they're going to harp on your every word. So if you go in there and say there's a ghost, there's a demon, there's a portal, there's something, it can truly damage them. So just learn a little bit, talk to somebody who's done it before, and like I said, talk to the people. We'll spend 3, sometimes 4 hours sitting with them to hear everything they have to say, to listen what they're doing. Do a walkthrough through the house first before they tell you everything. Walk through your house. If you're sensitive, if you have somebody on your team that's sensitive, bring them. Walk through the house, see what you feel where, and then hear what they have to say. Things like that will help solidify. Because if you go and they say, well, in this room, oh my God, every night we feel something. You walk in that room, your mind is already trained, like, something's got to be in this room, but if you don't know, see what you feel beforehand,
That was like The Conjuring with Ed Lorraine. They did the walkthrough, and they would look for leaks and sounds in the house before they even set up their.
Well, that's like the Gloom Planet. Yeah, we stayed at a haunted inn that's really big out here, and it's supposed to be super haunted. But I found there's a high EMF in a lot of parts of the room. So
Yeah.
I
A
think
lot of
people
them
should
now.
also, yeah.
Yeah, a
People
lot
should
of them
also
now
know
have
not everything you see on YouTube is real. Sorry. Didn't mean to
yeah,
cut you off.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, it is. It is.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I talk about, we won't get into this because this will be an hour show on its own. And you guys seen my show, you'll know orbs. Don't get me started on orbs because that's one of the things. Orbs are real. There are real spirit orbs, but they're about as rare as demonic possession. So it's a very different thing. And again, coming from my background in technology, my office, we have 98 cameras in our office, and then at the transitional location we have another like 60 almost. So I know what these cameras do. I know what they pick up. I know what causes things like dust and bugs and things to create what you think are orbs on there.
I would love to send you my orb video. I just do
it.
As long as you're not going to get mad at me, because I always try to be honest.
No, I value people's opinion. Like we're going to disagree to agree to disagree. I mean,
yeah, I encourage people at the convention and stuff. Hey, come on, bring your stuff up to me. And I'll be honest. I'm not going to be rude,
right?
But I will be honest in what I think. And if I think it's something, I will 100% tell you.
Right.
But
absolutely.
I also be prepared for me to, like, have you guys ever seen me
like
in some
this.
of those Facebook groups?
Oh yeah. You're like,
I get ripped on by people when they get pissed when I discredit their photos.
Oh yeah.
And
but
I don't do it.
I don't do it rude. No. You do it. You explain a lot. I mean, I've seen it, but some of the Facebook groups, I look at these pictures and I'm like, for sure, like they just, for lack of better words, they're tripping. Like they just want to see something so bad, or well, I don't know what it is. I just
100%.
Any little blob is like something. I'm like, no.
Yeah. That's the thing.
I just fit through it.
Yeah, I've calmed down a lot. I had to stop with the groups a lot.
You were super active on that.
Yeah, I was for a while. I had to stop because I couldn't. People were making me crazy, and I have no problem with that's why I do it. I did it to educate people, and you know how many cases I've actually gotten off of those Facebook groups. I've gotten a lot of cases from people because they go in there looking for help. And oh my God, the help that they get from a lot of those people in those groups. People chime in with help and they know nothing about this field. I had a guy that they actually told this guy first they told him to go get paranormal equipment and set it up in his house and start investigating. Worst thing you can do, And then they were telling him, well, what you need to do is go to the sink, get a glass of water, say a prayer over it, to make it holy water, and then use it to bless your house. No, no, not quite.
Wow.
You might as well just go outside and bless the pipes, and you just have holy water running through your house. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But
right?
And again, they can do damage to these people. I took on this guy and took on his case, and it happened to be a guy who was schizophrenic and off his medication. So, a perfect example. So, but I enjoy the groups, and I do spend my time in there really to help people, because a lot of people do ask, "Oh, what is this? Do you know what this is?" Just a lot of them don't want the answers I'm going to give them.
That's true.
They don't want to hear the truth.
Sadly, true. Yes.
They don't want to hear.
They just want the capture. They want to be like, "Let's go, cool. I caught a ghost." You will catch something probably eventually, but just I think it's, for me, I think I'd want to know what's real and what's not, so that when I really capture something, it's something cool. It's not a face in the leaf across the street that I zoomed in 4,000 times. That's not, a ghost doesn't hang out in the leaf in the tree, and it's not how it works.
That's what you see a lot on there, and I'll just be like,
yeah,
it's a reach. It's a reach.
You say that word pareidolia in those groups, and they just lose their mind.
They come attacking.
One thing I did want to add to Bill's, what he was saying in regarding residentials. The only thing I would add, guys, if you are interested in doing that, don't review your evidence with the guests that you're doing their residential, because if you're picking up, let's say, EVPs, and it's just screams, and they
freak
hear
those
it,
people out.
they're gonna get freaked out. So it's just best
Yeah.
to review all your evidence when you're away from there, and
Yep.
you've had the chance to analyze what it is that you picked up. Then you can discuss or go from there at
100%.
that.
Never,
Mhm.
never, unless you feel the person has an attachment or something on them, you shouldn't even investigate in the room with them. Walk
Mhm.
around, do what you think. Definitely. And if you have a psychic in your group that's there, do not tell them that they're a psychic, and do not tell them what they're picking up, because you got to remember, when you do get called in for a real case, the people are looking at you like a professional and an expert, and everything you say they're going to hang on. So, like, if you did a recording and something came through and they saw you go, they're
Yeah.
going to get freaked out. It's kind of like if you're on a plane and and all of a sudden the plane gets bumpy and you look at the stewardess and she looks panicked. You're gonna freak out.
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing. They're looking
Yes.
at you for professional advice, and don't do it in front of them. And I actually showed one of my teammates a while ago um, an example of that, because she wanted to, like, why wouldn't we bring out the stuff around them? I said, yeah, well, if you feel the need. I said, but we were in a house and we were in this little living room, and I could already tell that there really was nothing going on here, that I think it was a lot of their energy, that the husband and wife were constantly fighting, and they were putting off a ton of negative energy in this house. But they believed, that they thought something was in there, and there was a bathroom right behind us that they thought was the main thing where they always hear stuff. So I did it. I knew I could. They were young. I knew I could calm them down, but I did it more for my teammate to show her. I said, "Okay, watch." I took out a REM pod, which I don't always have with me at a residential unless it's for a reason. And I took it and I put it in the bathroom, and then we were sitting in the living room. All of a sudden, the REM pod went off, and the client, the female, she was freaked out, like, "Oh my god, what was that? What is that? What is that?" Like, and I had to explain to her. I said, "Calm down, calm down." I said, "Look," I said, "I put it on the sink against the wall." I asked the husband, because he was more logical at the time. I said, "What's on the other side of the wall?" He said, "That's the air conditioner, just kicked on." I said, "Watch." And I took it as it was going off and I put it on the floor and it stopped. So I turned it off. But I did it more to show my teammate what kind of reaction you'll get from the slightest little thing around them. So yeah, I fully agree with that. But reach, if you're not sure, ask for help. You contact me anytime through anything. Just contact me if you have a question, or whether it's part of the case or you have a question going into the case. Contact me anytime. I'll gladly answer anything and teach you anything you want.
Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
we
for that.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, like really quick, we're gonna wrap up now. Especially EVPs. I was gonna bring that up because you know how we're used to listening to EVPs, and like say on a DR60, a simple hello is like hello, and it sounds crazy, and we're like, oh, it just said like hello.
Yeah.
But to them, it sounds like, oh my god, like what is that screaming? And from public
Right.
events, we're so used to people's reactions, we're not used to listening to EVPs,
Right.
and that'll freak them out 100%. Like they'll
And
think that's demonic ASAP.
yeah, they may hear, especially if you don't know that maybe they're on some kind of drugs, or they have an illness or something, that maybe they're already hearing voices. That screech through the thing, it to them it could be something like, "I'm going to kill you," and you're never
You're
going
not
to change
trained
their
to
mind.
listen. Yeah. If you're not trained. Yeah.
That'll mess them up. I mean,
Yeah.
I
forget
tell
about
people
it. You leave there and they're a hot mess.
exactly. I tell people the hardest thing as a residential investigator is convincing the person they're not haunted. That's the hardest thing you're going to deal with, because they've seen it on TV. They saw it on YouTube. Another team was in there and told them that they have a portal with 400 spirits in there. There's a lot of great teams out there, but they run into other people sometimes that just don't know enough to do that. And, it's just always good to ask questions and get some experience. I don't tell everybody don't do it. Just get some experience for residentials. It's different.
I do have a question. I know we're pressed on time, but as far as REM pods, besides walkies, what else can set them off? Because it kind of emits its little dome of energy, right?
Right. It puts like an electromagnetic field around it. But any kind of vibrations can set it off. I had one time when we were at yesteryear. I think we were in the L Street house. No, one of the other houses. The thing was going off a lot, and it was purely going off because at the amphitheater they were having a concert, and it was going off to the base, and we were, and you know, it's something that the slightest vibration, there could be a settling in the house. Anything.
Okay, guys, sorry. Okay, I gotta ask this one question. Well, our last investigation, our REM pod was on the ground. There's no earthquake. The freaking antenna, you could see it spinning as it's going off. I've never seen it. I try to recreate it. There was a little wind. I try to recreate it, even with the walkie, because it was loose. I noticed it was loose, but I don't know if it was loose because something was spinning. I have it on camera. So what the hell could it be?
The thing is, there was
that I've never seen. That I have.
It was the wild, like I'm zooming in there, and you see this shit going like this.
Yeah,
it was the craziest. I got the chills thinking about it.
That's insane.
Afterward, did you touch the antenna? Was the antenna loose?
It was loose.
It got loose.
Yeah.
But usually when we put it on, we twist it.
Yeah, to make sure.
To make
sure.
But then at that moment, it was spinning like.
And then I'm sitting here, so I'm like me being a skeptic. I'm like, okay, let me get my walkie, set it off, and see if maybe just because it's turning on, it's making it loose. No.
Right.
Then I put it in a fan in front of the fan on high because it was a little windy. So I'm like, maybe the wind was blowing it. No,
but the wind would blow the leaves on the trees, and that the antenna would be still.
It would only spin when the device was going off.
Yeah,
not when it was. So it was in the wind.
What I would do, like if I encountered that, I've never had. I'd like to encounter.
It was wild as shit. I'm like, what the hell?
What I do whenever, especially with the REM pod, whenever something's going like crazy or whatever, I'll do everything I can. I'll go over there, I'll check it, I'll move it, I'll change the battery, I'll make sure the antenna is fine. I'll do all that, and then if it continues to do it or it does it again, you want to look for the intelligent. You want to say like, hey, stop spinning the antenna.
I did, I did.
Dead. It's we've had at the L Street house and yesteryear, I've had it goes off when we tell it to, and it stops when we told it to come away. Again, there are things that can turn it off, but you have to keep doing it. The more you want to look for those intelligent responses. That's what's really interesting.
Yeah, I was telling it, can you stop? Can you back away from there? And it did, and the antenna stopped. Then I would be like, are you still? I would ask a question. I'd say, can you let us know if you're still here or something? And it would go and touch it, and then you see that thing spinning really slow, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm sorry, excuse my language. I've never seen that, and I love my beep beep devices.
Right. And I touch on one more thing, and it's no offense to anybody out there, anybody here who does this, because it is a known thing that a lot of people like to do. And I'm going to say this straight out. A flashlight is used to see in the dark. The yes/no questions with a flashlight, I'm very questionable on it, because I'll tell you this. Here's this very simple thing. Like we said before, they can manipulate electronics and energy and things. So can they manipulate a flashlight? Absolutely. But if they want to, they can manipulate it without you taking it and unscrewing the top just to the point where the connection breaks. Because all you need is and I have this proven on a video, all you need is a 1 degree temperature change in the room, hot or cold, and the thing expands or contracts, and it touches for a second. So if you stand there and you ask 20 questions, eventually it's going to turn on during one of your questions, and it's going to turn off, because even you in there asking and moving, it will do that. I'm not saying that it can never be the spirit manipulating it, but yeah, exactly. But it's, again, I wouldn't consider it evidence because it can be easily debunked. So that started from TV. Leave that. I'm gonna say who, but it started with TV. So leave it on the table, screwed in, and see if it'll turn it on. Because if it can manipulate the energy.
We've used it a couple times, and we have. Can you turn it on?
Test it,
but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Put other things with it.
That's what I was gonna say. In conjunction with other things, guys.
Yeah. If there's like a REM pod there that's going off at the same time right next to it, right? Yeah.
Also, don't stack 15 pieces of equipment on top of each other. Don't put your REM pod within
snap,
1
don't
inch
do that.
of your.
We're not
of
by
your-
each other, separate.
Don't lean your
She's like, they're
K2
separate
meter on
like
the
this.
REM pod. You know.
They're like
I
little
see
houses.
I see it on TikTok all the time. People are live on TikTok and they're in a room and they have like 4 dolls and they have like 47 pieces of equipment around the dolls and the
No
things are all
comment.
going, the lights are going, and I'm like, oh my god, I just want to smack them right through the screen. Like,
Don't watch my videos.
well, no, I'm not saying that.
She's fading into the.
She's fading into the
Ever
silent.
watching yours? Do you have dolls on a shelf?
No, she does.
But no, like, I
I have 25 pieces of equipment.
But wait, I put things next to each other close, but don't stack things up on top. Oh wait, don't stack them up when you know what they do. If one produces EMF, don't put it by something that's looking for EMF.
Oh,
Things like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you
Like,
can
yeah.
put other things near each other. It
Yeah,
won't
for
set
real.
each other
Yeah.
off. But you know, don't
Yeah.
like. I've seen
I'm interested in knowing that.
I've seen
Yeah,
people
we-
lean stuff on the REM pod, literally lean it, and it doesn't
Joe-
stop. It's off.
Joey really wants to see your Jen. Armando, I know we're getting late, but can I put on my orb thing? I already have it up.
Yeah,
Joey
yeah.
really wants his opinion.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
orb. Is that okay?
Jordan, you
Yeah,
want
no.
me to do this?
Not my orb.
Bill,
Ask
quick
the question.
quick question.
Yeah.
I have a question from the chat. Do live streams set off REM pods?
Um,
I don't think so.
I have never tested it, but you have to remember this: if you're live streaming, you have your Wi-Fi on. Your phone is constantly looking for Wi-Fi and constantly pulling Wi-Fi, which can send out signals to actually set off devices. Will it set off a REM pod? I haven't tested that. I'll have to test that.
It'll
one.
definitely do the K2.
The K2,
So
yeah.
you know
Yeah.
that. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. Even if even if you have it on airplane mode. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna present the screen really quick because I know it's
Go ahead,
getting late.
go ahead.
Wait, okay. You guys
Sure you
keep
want me
talking
to,
while I'm
you want
doing
me
it.
to do this?
No,
Well, I already said
Like, no, but
we're
yes.
on top of
Wait,
each
wait,
other,
wait.
and now you hate me.
Yeah,
So
you're already committed.
Maybe she'll stop putting orbs by me when I'm sitting down.
shut up.
Maybe.
Okay, I don't know. I don't think I can make it bigger,
Okay, hold
but
on.
this is it. It's a short. Okay, ready?
Oh no, it's
okay.
Can you guys see it?
That's all
Yeah.
I have to see. Yep. All right. Let me. No.
I wish I
Okay.
could. I
No,
wish
but
I
you
could
don't
show
have
you
the
the
other
full
one?
video.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
let's say you don't have the other.
No.
Oh, there you go.
That,
Yeah, this
here.
is a shorter video.
That's. You're gonna hate this. That's.
No,
dust.
no.
It
I
is.
respect your opinion.
And I'll tell you why. I'm gonna explain why, and this is what I tell people. So, a true spirit orb, which are real. Okay.
Can you guys
There
still
it is.
see the screen or no?
This
Right?
is what I'm known for. No, honestly, a true spirit orb is a real thing, but what it's believed is that it is not believed. I've seen 3 in my 35 years doing this. It is a solid 3D ball of energy. So it's believed that it is a spirit or a demon trying to manifest itself into the room by pulling the energy from the room. Okay. That's why I have never seen one captured on film, because it drains the cameras. It pulls you can feel the energy coming out of you. It is insane. I've seen one go from a golf ball to a softball. The thing about it is they can never be transparent, translucent, or flat, because they're solid energy. So the energy produces its own light. So it's almost like a little sun. It actually has light coming off of it. So if it came into a room that has like a night vision camera, it would actually trick your night vision camera into the daylight mode. It would look like you turned a lamp on in your room. So it would actually come out of nighttime mode. It does not reflect light. It has its own light. So what you're seeing is a piece of dust or bug, or it could be hair, dander. I mean, it's so many different things.
I cut it down and I shorten it so people don't see my whole damn living room, but it comes from the couch. There's a couch over there, and it shoots out, and then it almost is like it makes a and then goes back.
What it is a piece of dust or something, some kind of airborne contamination, and it picked up the airflow in the room. So it's not actually coming from the couch, because you're looking at something that was far away from the camera. Now it's coming close to the camera.
Right.
So at point, the only way you're seeing that piece of dust is because the infrared lights are reflecting off of it onto the camera, or else you wouldn't even see it.
Okay.
So when it's far away, there's times you ever see one that blinks? like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's because it's grabbing the infrared and then it's losing the infrared. And it's grabbing the reflection, it's losing the reflection. That's why people say it went right through the wall. No, it got to the wall and then it lost the reflection of the light out of the range of the lights, because the lights are on the little thing like this. So once it comes out of here, it doesn't have the light anymore, and it's there. It just disappears off the camera. So that's really the ways to tell about a real orb, you know. And again,
you're right. I don't like your answer. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We're not friends.
No, I respect you.
I feel so bad.
You need to host like classes,
The
man.
reason-
I would totally sign up.
Yeah, no, backstory to that video. Joey likes to fall asleep on the couch, and I'm not getting up because we live in a mansion, right? I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah.
It's a small house. So I'll get on the
you live
camera
in
and
the
yell
house
at
right
him from the
behind
room.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to what I said before. Could one of those be some kind of spirit that didn't have a lot of energy or something? I mean, it's always possible. I mean, nobody knows 100% of anything. So it's always possible. But because I know how the cameras work, because I've seen a real one, and once you see a real one, if you're lucky enough to see a real one, you will say, I completely understand. Because it's so different. It's so different, you know. And that,
do you have
that's
any
why.
videos of any? Like you can
I don't
compare?
know.
No?
I know people who've been doing this 40 and 50 years, and I don't know one person who's ever captured a true orb on film.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some people out there, I don't know, but I don't know anybody who's ever captured it, because the 3 times I saw one, the cameras died because it pulled all the energy from the cameras.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah.
2 of them were on demonic cases and 1 was on a regular case. It pretty amazing. But yeah, that's why I say, and that's why I try to, you know, when I go in these groups, I'm so set on what I'm saying about them, is because, again, I work with cameras all day long too. I know how they work and how they're caused. I got 11 around my own house, you know. So
yeah. Well, your ring sucks.
Well, no,
I didn't catch that orb.
No, she doesn't have to. Oh, there's an orb. It's following you.
Now she can leave Joy alone.
I'm not even looking for anything, and then a ball of light just goes up. I mean,
that, and now I'm gonna see your videos and stuff is gonna be spaced out 14 feet apart. And
now I'm just gonna unplug the freaking thing. Okay.
you can have stuff near each other, just don't, you know, like what I'm talking about. If you saw this, some of these videos I saw are just crazy, you know.
Oh shit.
The one and only one that we've ever seen was actually at the Riddle House.
Was it?
Believe it or not. Yeah.
That's the first thing. You'll see it with your eyes.
No.
In the kitchen.
Not
he's
camera.
talking about on a piece of equipment. I've seen orbs with my eyeball.
Okay.
Well, with her own eyes.
I don't think he's ever seen one with
like
his
one
eyes.
together. That was actually the only one that I've seen. Riddle House in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I did
I've
it.
seen one or two that I couldn't explain. I couldn't say it definitely was, but I couldn't explain. You know, but yeah, you see them with your eyes. That's the real ones.
That's what I seen. Yeah. Damn. All right. Well, this was fun. This was a great episode.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Even
Bill,
though I didn't like your
stay with you
answer, I
forever.
respect your opinion.
Do you do?
I appreciate that.
Because Armando brought it up. Do you do by any chance like classes or something like that people maybe will be interested in taking, or
you know?
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it. It's a tough thing.
I think you should do it.
It's a tough thing in this field too, because some people look really down on it. You know, I've taken a million classes out there. I've taken some of the crappiest classes you could ever imagine, because I like to go and I take everything, because I always say this: every book, everything, you'll find something that you didn't know, even if they're telling you something that's just totally ridiculous. There may be something that, oh, that's cool. I'm thinking about, there's a possibility. I really would love to get into teaching about residential cases. And it's like, what do we do with the Warrens? You know, the Warren Foundation, it's all residential. We have people all across the world, you know.
Right. So if somebody needed to get a hold of you to, like, it has a case on the West Coast, are you willing to travel, or how does that work?
Yeah. I have people all throughout Florida, Georgia, Nebraska, the UK, Italy, and Greece.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But we also have a lot of people that work with the Warrens through us. You know, the Warren Foundation. I got to say, the Warren Foundation, separate from Nesper up in Connecticut. The Warren Foundation. I have people that are out on the West Coast and everything that we would gladly, you know, work with, go with them, send them out there. Yeah. I work with people all over the place. That's what I like to do, because I get cases from every state, and I I couldn't handle a lot of them, and I don't like to pass off somebody I don't know. Thank you.
Yeah. And last question: Are you willing to take 2 folks from War Party Paranormal as students when you do decide to do these classes?
Listening to stuff.
Yeah.
I'm always going into those panels because you talk I'm constantly I like to learn. I like to learn people's different experiences, techniques, and just how about the orbs. Like
I'll tell you this.
I'm constantly researching.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, for anybody who comes to any of my shows, anything, the library shows are usually a lot more informative because we're there for at least 2 to 3 hours. And sometimes I have a lot of my team with me, and we talk. We'll get more into a lot of different things. Where when you go to a convention, you get 45 minutes, and I could talk about it for 45 minutes. So it's like you get a limited amount of and a limited questions. But the libraries, if you have a minute, can I plug a few places I'm going to be coming up?
Of course,
please do so. Do so.
I
gotta pull this up because I'll never remember it. I have too many things at once. Do I even have it here anymore?
I do have all of Bill's links in the description box, and he will tell you his shows.
Yeah, but the easiest way,
locations.
The easiest way to find me with anything is my website, which is my name, BillSlevin.com. I have everything on my news page. I have everything on my events page. So I'll be at UltraCon, like they were saying, from the 20th to the 22nd of September. I'll be there all 3 days at my booth. It's in West Palm Beach. It's ultraconcity.com. October 5th, I'll be at the Port Orange Library from 1 to 4 p.m. That should be interesting. I have 3 hours, 2 hours of me talking, 1 hour question and answer. October 19th, I'll be on Fort Myers on the west coast of Florida at Florida Horror Fest. I'm a guest there. And that's from 10 to 7, I think 10 to 6, something like that. The 26th of October, I'll be at the Coconut Grove Library down in Miami from 3 to 5. And then on November 9th, I'll be at the Coral Springs Library from 2 to 4. Those are all Saturdays. And there's a lot more that just haven't been confirmed yet. So just keep an eye out. We have a lot of fun. Again, UltraCon, unfortunately, I won't have a panel, but you can come up to my booth and I'll talk to you all day long. I don't push people away from the booth. I'll talk to you as long as you want.
Oh, yeah.
And Florida Horror Fest, I'm supposed to have a panel. We got to see. Sometimes he has them, sometimes he doesn't. We'll see what it is. So that's all I have confirmed at the moment.
That's it?
That's it. This is a busy season.
I thought he was busy.
He's a very busy
man.
Very busy man.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to make the trip up north to go hang out with you one of these.
Yeah, we do the Coral Springs one because I think we're gonna be out of town.
Coral Springs usually pulls in a lot of people. That's my town. Coral Springs and Coconut Creek, I usually, for some reason, we get 100, 150 people in the library, where the ones at Miami, they don't promote well. All the ones in Miami last year had anywhere from 2 to 5 people. and
Miami got to step it up.
I don't know what's going on.
And I didn't even hear about the one down here.
We didn't know about the one down here.
I did 3 in Miami last year. 4 in Miami last year.
So you got to come.
I'm gonna start promoting them. If you have it on your Facebook, I'll start pushing it out. So it's local to us. So
yeah, I'm going to start promoting everything. I have UltraCon. It's already been promoted, but I have a lot more coming out.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Stay on
real quick. We're going to take a picture after when I end the live. Again, all his links, information, website, team site, YouTube pages, everything is on the description box on both Joy and Joy's and ours. We share the live.
And Dantex just posted his website on the chat. Thank you, Dantex.
Thank you, Dantex.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
So
awesome. Good job. Stephen Mella said they will come with us when we go to Coral Springs. Yay.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, Stephen Mella, Black Smoke Paranormal. Amazing.
He's going to talk to you about more orbs. And then
So next week, we have our friend that apparently wants to move to Florida.
Are you kidding me? We just learned this now.
Late breaking news. Okay, next week it's gonna get weird and saucy.
gonna
We
get weird
will-
and saucy. Yes.
We will be
Moving to
having
Florida. Ooh,
our
Kevin.
very own Kevin,
Yay.
our friend from up north. He's coming
Yep.
to be on the show, and we're going to be doing a panel with a lot of special guests. So
Is it
stay
next week?
tuned for that one.
Next week, right?
That's next week.
Okay.
Yes.
That's next week.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. And so we.
Wait, are we doing that? Are we doing that thing?
Yes.
Next week.
Okay.
The thing, yes.
Yeah, if you were.
We're
Yes,
doing the
that's
thing.
why he said we're gonna get weird and saucy.
Yes.
Oh, but
He has so Kevin, where the weird ones are, has his own hot sauce line, and he keeps throwing out new flavors. So we're gonna try them.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it for my parachute.
I can't wait for that. So to wrap up, 305 Paranormal on all social media. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Joy
yes,
and Joy,
yes.
tell us you.
Thank
We
you
can
for
find us
having
here at
me.
Joy and Joey under YouTube. I took out the dot, so I'm no longer dot paranormal. I'm JJ Paranormal on
She's
Instagram.
always keeping us on.
I'm
our
changing
toes.
my name, you guys. I have an identity crisis.
It's the spirits.
Yeah. But yeah, please go check out Limestone just came out with a video. Please go check out Chris and Oren and everybody else. Black Smoke, keep it where the weird ones are. Yeah.
Haunting
everybody in
Angels,
chat.
check them out. James at Cross the Angel.
Cross the Angels.
Cross the Angel.
Oh wow.
Cross the line.
Cross the.
Everybody
Cross the
here has some
angels,
good
the
stuff.
lines. We're
Yeah.
crossing all the lines
Yes,
here. We're crossing all that
yes.
stuff.
Everybody in the
Jesse,
chat, just go through the
thank
list,
you.
okay?
Dan
Most
Tex,
importantly,
thank
our
you.
guests. Check them out.
Wit, Limestone, everybody, thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
you.
And thank you, Bill, for being here once
Chidi,
again.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you for having
so
me.
much. And I'm excited. You did tell me something about my REM pod. You can't explain it, so I'll
Yes.
forgive you for the orb.
All right,
Give me
love.
some
Good
orc
night.
photos now.
She'll eventually
Have a
post
great
that
week.
video.
See you next week.
Bye,
Bye,
y'all.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.